Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the third episode of our podcast. And this time we have some news. We just rebranded ourselves and now we call us Product Notes.
Yes.
So with us, we have, as usual, Mario. Hi, Mario.
Hello, Thomas. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm Tomas, as you know. And we have a guest today. We have Donatas. Hi, Donatas.
Hello.
So Donatas is head of Wix events. It's a group which is making an amazing product used worldwide in many countries by many users, and many visitors are going to many different events worldwide. Maybe Donatas will tell a bit more about it later. However, today we have a very specific and interesting topic. We thought maybe let's discuss about the clash between product and engineering. Because the last time we spoke about product versus UX, we spoke about product and data collaboration. Now we thought, okay, like it's kind of often thing that we see where engineers dislike something about product people, and it's quite a common topic. So we thought, let's delve deeper into this.
Yeah.
Mario, why did you want this topic to happen?
I don't know. I was now talking before the episode that yesterday just happened that I had a clash with a developer about some specific, and it is difficult sometimes to have this communication going smoothly because we have different goals. Sometimes they have technical goals, engineering goals, and we have some product goals, and sometimes there is a misalignment on what do we want to achieve. So I think it's important also to bring it up, to have some insights about how do we deal with it, how can we improve this communication, because at the end of the day, we are building the same product, so we want to build the best out of it. And you, Donatas?
Hi, so it's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting. And it's interesting topic because I can tell I wore both hats, right? Because I started off as a developer. So I worked with many product or project managers in Wix and outside Wix. So I have also some ideas what I didn't like, but also then when you're responsible for a product, you kind of get this different hat and you understand how things might look different when you just want to get things done and there is like, engineering, something doesn't work. So you kind of want to push it, but not too much maybe. So anyway, we can talk about maybe specifics later, but it's an interesting clash that when you're switching sides, let's say, you find a different perspective of what you want to do.
So you found yourself in the dark side now?
Good side.
Donat, and actually that's an interesting point. Did over time, your mindset change when you switch more from pure industrial coding, engineering, to, let's say, more on a product side? Like, did you start to realize, okay, well, maybe as an engineer, I wasn't so right about hating this or that?
So definitely. And I think, it drills down to two main things why you don't like something about the product when you're a developer. So one is, in general, poor management. So when you have someone like micromanaging your tasks, like, oh, how's it going? It can be like very passive-aggressive. So how are you doing today? What are you supposed to answer? I had my coffee, or like this task is not going well. And the second question might be even more like annoying, because it would sound like, so why does it take it so long? It's not a question like, what is the progress? But you already have evaluation. It's too long for someone, right? But they don't
for
even
someone
know
that
the
normally
details.
don't have the experience and that is not in the details, right?
Right. So this and then you're supposed to be defending maybe a bit, and it's like already creating a clash, which later, I think, it's not building trust. When you don't trust each other, like product doesn't trust developers enough and developers don't trust product enough, you will get this, that, you don't know, you don't understand engineering, so we're doing good stuff for it to work. And the product, well, how hard can it be? Why is it so complicated? Tell me. Yeah. And when they tell you in a technical manner and you don't understand, then you feel like maybe they're a bit, trying to trick you. Maybe it's a bit of bullshit. I'm not sure, but something is off here. So you kind of end up with this feeling that it's not right, even though they told you it's how it's supposed to be.
But it's something that is happening a lot. I watch a lot of reels and shorts, and sometimes I get recommended these shorts of like developers versus PMs, and like they're coming and asking questions and going back and forth, and it feels like it's a problem everywhere, right? Like it's like two professions that they now must work together, and they kind of sometimes dislike each other in a sense that they just don't understand what each other is doing because they are not like into these details. So
I think Mario just brought a very, very strong point here about not understanding what each other is doing. And in my opinion, there's like a lot of this problem actually has to do with this point. For example, as a PM, or I often actually hear other PMs saying, well, like these are technical details. I don't care, Like engineers will take care of that and it's fine. Like on one hand, that's true. If you have great engineering team, you shouldn't be like delving too much into details. But on the other hand, like if they're constantly bringing you, some problems and when you don't listen to that, it's also problematic. I remember once I worked in one Scandinavian company, and one stakeholder explained me very well, like, the essence of being a great at product ownership management is basically, he said, imagine that you are responsible for some kind of, let's say, real estate. You have a, flat or a house, and you need to take care of renting it, right? Like, you have customers, you have a KPI, you're taking a rent fee, makes sense, And at the same time, you need to do maintenance, right? There is plumbing, there is electricity, so on, and there are people coming, and fixing your stuff. And now imagine that, every month a plumber comes and says, well, okay, I fixed this part, it works as you wanted, but I saw there is a risk to have a leakage. Your pipes might break eventually if we don't change them. Doesn't seem like a big risk now, but eventually it will be a problem. You hear it once, okay, you think, okay, maybe it's fine enough for now. And then you hear it 6 months in a row, and suddenly the pipes break. Whose ownership is that? Who's responsible for that? And on one hand, you could say, well, as a owner of a house, like maybe I didn't care about it. Okay, it's there is a plumber, it's his or her responsibility. But at the same time, if someone was telling you constantly about a problem and you didn't get into the details of that, maybe it's your problem, right?
But this is also how big is the problem. I relate a lot to that because I just renovated my house. And when we tear down the walls, the electricity was a disaster. And we knew it. The electricity was not well done originally in the house, right? So it's the same with the product. Sometimes even you get a product that was developed by someone else, and now you need to see what is behind and work with this technical debt. And developers are telling you all the time, hey, this is not working, let's do it, but it will cost you like 60K or whatever, like just to put it into perspective of the construction. Sometimes you don't have the money to pay, right? And this is the problem, that as an owner of the house, you need also to have the means to be able to fix it. And you play the roulette, and maybe it will be fine. So there is also this balance of...
Yeah.
By the way, I feel today I'm a bit on disadvantage because you both come from the development world, moved to kind of doing products. So I feel like you in lower numbers here. But sometimes this is what I feel from the developer that you put as a plumber experience. They just point it out, and they point out the problems, and they point out the cost, and it is like that. What I would expect always, or what I ask my developers always to work with, is like, what is the plan B, what is plan C, what is plan D? Let's find, because today we don't have the time because we are doing all these other things that we all know that is important. Can we have a plan D? Can we have a plan F or G? It doesn't matter, like something, think out of the box. How can we continue living with this situation for longer period, and how long do we have? And this is the question that I understand is not easy to answer. How long do we have?
And also, I would like to add that what you mentioned is like actually how human brain works, because when it's something unknown, you want to compare. Like human brain is good at comparing things which are kind of similar. So I have a plan A, plan B, plan C, and then I can choose. So for example, stuff will break. Okay, then what? Or what is the alternative? If I fix it now versus fix it like in 3 months, 6 months, what is the outcome, or what is the cost? I can then compare and maybe make a decision.
But at the end of the day, it's a business goal, right? You want to create a product, you still want to be profitable, you still want to keep growing, you still want to attract more users. Fixing this, what it will cost me? I need to balance or check what is more expensive.
But also what is the risk? Because if your product will not work for, let's say, a week, and people cannot submit a form, for example, so then it doesn't matter how nice features you want to build.
That's
next,
right.
You need
but
to
this is
fix it now.
what we need to get, right? And this is sometimes the harder part from the developers. What is going to happen? Like, I don't expect to predict the future, but tell me, what happens if this hits, the shit hits the fan? Like, are we going to be down for a week? Wow. Then let's fix it today. Is it going to be a small minor thing? Okay, let's think about it. Maybe we do it next sprint, or we do it in the next milestone, or whatever.
For me, it's actually a very beautiful problem in software, because like you need to understand that everyone has only the best intentions, like product has the best intentions to have, KPIs met, to have a good product. Engineering has the best intentions to have, high availability, great success rate, yada, yada, same for UX, same for everyone. Now the question is, when you have a bunch of people and everyone has, only good intentions, how to make sure you have, a good one single one? How do you narrow down? How do you converge into a single one?
You know what is the pitfall here? When you try to make everyone happy.
Yeah.
Because then you make the worst decision. You try to compromise so much everywhere that at the end you don't get anything properly. So I think this is the risk that we face when we all try to have the best intentions, and we all come with smiles and we all try to be friends and like, hey, let's live in this happy world where like we can find a solution that fits us all. And that's not the reality. It's not different.
It's also, I think, resistance to change, right? Because people don't like change in general, don't like politics, fashion, whatever. So now imagine that you spend a lot of time researching. This is the good product I want to have. And the development starts, and developers suddenly say, like after a month, that look, like we need to change because it will not work. It cannot work. So you're like a bit already annoyed, not happy, because you spend so much time thinking about it, and someone is telling you change of plans. And I think it's also the same with developers. Imagine that they're now building like something, they're halfway done, they had this idea of great architecture in mind, and now product manager comes and says, look, like I tried it, doesn't work. Like we need to change this tiny detail, change it a bit here. And a bit means that, you need to like, I don't know, refactor a lot of things. So again, change that they didn't expect. And maybe that's also how these clashes come. Like why this change is needed? Mm-hmm. Is there like a need for that? What is the business goal? So then you try to question, the motivation.
Yeah.
Speaking about small changes, there's this, I had this once interesting story where, product manager basically wanted, and remember I told you this before, that there was a PM who basically wanted to pick a feature, to make a win-win for everyone, as I said, to please everyone, because engineers were a bit pissed because, okay, all the features, boring, so on, let's do something, technically interesting. and also, there was a problem in the funnel of signed up users in that specific product, in that company. So, he decided, okay, let's take and redo the authentication flow, which, come on, it's like what? Login page, you just have, email input, password input, reuse the Twitter, Facebook, X, Facebook, and so on logos to have, and that's it. What else do you need? Like, okay, two-factor. Okay, again, one input box, send an email. That's it. How much can it take? A month.
Yeah, and they're complaining all the time about it. So let's just fix it and get rid of it.
The guy managed to convince everyone. Hey, he said like, oh, this is small. Like, come on, 1 month. Simple, and all engineers like at first heard and thought, okay, like this is like refactoring of our whole system, literally all authentication,
great
all services, like great opportunity. Yeah, on one hand we liked, but what happened, over time is that basically we started doing it, and it's another actually interesting thing about product where some products tend to have their difficulties which are not visual, we're somewhere in the logic, somewhere deep inside, And visually it looked the same. The UI is the same, And then what happened is basically, the product person lost the control of how everything is running. Changes started happening, product person doesn't understand what are the changes because we're very technical. That person didn't want to go into details. And it just exploded into, I don't know, tripling or maybe even more the whole estimate.
You know what it helps for product people to understand better what's happening? Demos. But not demos of UI, demos of APIs, demo of even the PR. Look how many files we change. Look, this is the work we are doing, because then you make visible for people they don't check the PRs. They don't see how big they are. They don't understand. They just see lines of code. But if you start explaining on the demo, look, this is what I did last week. I made this API works. And you just call the API, see the result. It works. Amazing. And then they start seeing like, oh, this is the work that you have behind. And at the end of the day, you need to build a bridge in between PMs and devs, and because again, what we said at the beginning, like there's two professions, they are now meant to work together, and they don't understand each other. Like it's difficult for both of them. And another thing I want to quote the designer that of my team, couple of sprint meetings ago, he says, we are doing now backend, frontend, and then design. But it's the times that I'm enjoying it the most because I know what are the limitations from the beginning and I can build a better product because now the developers are doing the APIs, doing the architecture, and they are understanding where can we go, where are our limits. And sometimes the limits in the designs you thought that is even smaller, and when you actually do the architecture, you see, it's much bigger and we can do much more now. So he's very happy with this new approach that he's taking with the developers and enjoying it, and he's understanding better what they are actually doing every day.
Same for us. What we're doing is before doing the final, let's say, UX of the product. So it's always designers and devs talk. Like, can we do this? Or, is this supported? Just to understand maybe the limitations, maybe there is something.
But why doesn't it come the other way around? Why not the devs saying, look, can we do this?
It also happens, but it also happens when it's already in development. So then, yes, we have this. I think that's what the good example when there is no frustration is when the other party comes to you with a solution, like not a problem. It's a problem. So, like now I need to take a step back and think of possibilities, but I don't know more limitations. If I get instead, let's say that developer comes and says, look, I can do this. Will take 1 month because of many different things, maybe dependencies, other teams, and so on. Or we can, if we change, the form a bit, and we do cut out that part, it will take a week. Again, you can compare, and you can have already something very productive. So that's how I think you build trust. And once you come up with solutions, not only that there is an issue, and now it's on you, like the ball is on your court, and you fix it, and then you go back, and I will maybe start working, and I will come back to you a week later, another bug, or another issue, and then it will be a ping pong, very annoying for both parties because it's, the project never ends.
Yeah, but let's say that you come with a solution, and I don't like the solution. Because
alternatives, you want to compare, right?
This is exactly what happened to me, like during this week. We have a live product. We have a problem in the product, and it's a live feature. It's not a bug. It's a feature that is live. Devs wants to kill it. Devs wants to remove this feature. It's not a good engineering. It can create problems in the database. It's a very used feature. And the alternative solutions, because we have been looking for many, are all bad. In a sense that those features are not really solving any problem. And in my opinion, keeping the feature like it is a minor bad in a sense, like the chances that someone will get into it and face these problems are very small, very, very, very small. Yet you know that it could happen. So developers are not feeling comfortable with knowing that there is an issue on their system. And I guess you will relate to them. You know that there is a hole, you want to fix it right away. But it's a very, very small hole, very hard to get into. And all the solutions is kill this feature and do something different. And I don't know how to find this, balance of okay, you want to fix it, but I still care about the product and I don't want it to kill a feature because of it. It's too much of an ask for me.
It's also I'm not sure what studies or universities you finished. I didn't finish math and stuff. I finished communication science, whatever how it's called. So one of the theories says that every time we speak, we lose the information we want to transfer, right? I have this idea, now I'm speaking, I want to transfer it to you, but you get only a portion of it because I cannot express my, past, my concerns and whatever with words or written form. So if you imagine this part, you were doing the same with, between different products or different, devs and products. So you have this context, the big already, you researched, you read, and you understand the user pain. You don't probably tell all of it to the developer. You just say, it's a used feature. Come on, keep it. Yes. But actually what you mean is that it creates a very, big value for people, and they like it and they enjoy it and they will use it and they continue to use it. If you would somehow be able to put this into, perspective for developer, maybe they would say okay, I don't like it, but it makes sense, so let's keep it. But when we just say, has to be there. Like, don't think about it. It's too much information for you. Just care about, keeping the feature alive. Then they can also, start feeling that, but why? Like, doesn't make sense. I'm telling you, there's a problem, a leakage, or, already like, pipes bursting, and you're ignoring it. So then they kind of, fight back and they say, I want good engineering, I want a culture where I can feel comfortable, proud about my product, how I build stuff. And you're asking me to like, keep bugs or do bugs because of, bad product.
Well, it's a good product.
Yeah, it depends, how you look at it, right? Like for them, it might seem it's a bad because there is this bug that is sitting in their face all day.
Yeah, I would disagree. It's a bug or a feature. Like, this is one of the best part of talking with developers. This is a bug or a feature. For them, it's a bug. For me, it's a feature. and like we just sometimes cannot agree. And there is the problem of like, who makes at the end of the day the call? Who makes the call? The engineering team that will need to wake up in the night if something goes wrong and like, it's not something that is comfortable, or like the product manager that, is sleeping calmly on his bed, cannot really, if something happened, wake up or do something about it.
Also, maybe a third option. Not sure what exactly is the case, but sometimes kicking the can is actually also an option. Like we don't live in a perfect world where we can have everything.
Postpone the problem for our futures.
Yeah, maybe if it's not an active issue, like why to solve it? Like sometimes solving something just for the sake of solving.
Yeah. This was my proposal. Like, let's.
yeah. Like, is it a bug if no one complains, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah. We actually, it's an interesting problem. It's again very small chances for it to happen. We discover it, and it's not like a security or something. It's a minor thing, but you feel it. It's like this when you find something that is annoying you, and yes, just annoying you, like, and you see it in front of you. I understand, and I have to say I'm very happy I have a very good relationship with my devs, and we laugh about it, and we had like 10 talks, but at the end of the day, in a good way, and that's what matters. We send each other a couple of memes about what's happening and make fun of each other, but yeah,
it would be probably worse if you didn't have 10 stocks. Like, and like sometimes I think when people like imagine, I don't know, friends or even families or teams, whatever, like if everything is always just nice things and there's no actual discussion, only compromises, again, you're not moving into the right direction often.
Yeah, that you're right. It's a very good point. Yeah.
I wanted to bring one more subtopic around what engineers hate about PMs. It's something from my personal experience. I also used to be like a hands-on engineer. Sometimes I still do hands-on, but not as much as before.
Do you miss it?
Do I do what?
Do you miss it? Now that you transition, like how do you feel?
Since I do it anyway now, on sometimes, I don't know, monthly basis, so it's good enough for me. Yeah. Anyway, processes. Actually, something that I remember very, very interestingly from my past is when we're there, let's say, product people, or not necessarily product managers, sometimes project managers, sometimes we call it agile coaches, but often it's product managers or product owners who are a bit too strict about some processes. And, like...
you mean move the Jira ticket?
Yeah, like, like to give you like a good example in one company, I will never forget this. We were in a very tense situation where basically to the board, we promised to launch one feature. We know there's 1 month remaining. We know it's tense, but, I was in engineering back then, and all engineers say, we will do it. Like, yes, there's a lot of stuff, like, but we are calm, we will maybe cut something, we will decide on the go something, but we can do it. And it was like last month, everyone agreed, okay, we can work some overtime. Everyone was okay with that. However, PM came and said, look, guys, I want this Excel field. And please detail every feature that you plan to do in this last month. And, it's a huge project. There's a lot to do. And basically filling this Excel, devs come to me and say, okay, like, man, it will take me a day. And there's 20 days remaining of work. Do you really want me to spend 5% of basically what I could spend on the features filling this Excel, so that PM can basically reprioritize accordingly? That was one case where, basically you have to choose, do you want better I don't know how to call it, manageability, like, ability to manage something, like maybe even micromanage a little. Like, of course, I understand product managers have the best intentions, to be able to, if something happens, to reprioritize, to cut somewhere and so on. But basically, at the same time, it would remove trust from the, from the engineers. And at least myself, I often think, being too strict about processes is not always a good idea. Like, even if you come back to the very roots of Agile, in the manifesto, they say those things, that people over processes.
Yes, people over processes.
And like, I don't think you need to look into this from the side, like, that, if someone doesn't want to work according to process, just ignore it. It's more about, processes often don't make sense, Like, it just happens that if you have some particular process and, in particular situations, sometimes they don't make sense. It might make sense in 80% of situations, but it might not make sense, in 20% of situations. And then you need to readjust. And, some people are just not good at readjusting, and then immediately there is this clash, and, when the tensions are high, I think these clashes even go up. And even to add further, what I also hear from others, or I remember myself, is, again, points back to the Agile Manifesto about having working software is more important than anything else. Slides, Figmas, even Excel sheets. They're not
architecture
working
docs.
software. Architecture docs, on the other side, not necessarily product side. Architecture docs, any kind of technical docs. It's not a working software. It's not an actual value that you're delivering. These are things are less important.
It will change.
Yeah, they will change.
I have to say that I hate processes. Like, as a product
Same.
person, I cannot understand when I'm talking with someone and says, like, which software do you use to track tickets? I said, why do you care? Like, why do you need to track what people is doing? Like, they're going to deliver. And we all have a deadline of when do we want to release what we are going to release. I don't care if it's going to take you 2 days or 4 days. You promise me the whole thing would be built in a month. Let's try to do it. I'm not going to tell you this is taking too long or this is whatever. I am expecting the opposite. I'm expecting, hey, it's taking me too long. We need to cut something, or like things like opposite than that. And processes in general makes people calmer, to have more control, especially those that maybe are less confident about what they are building.
It's exactly that. I think it's control. And I feel that we need to leave space to adjust. So, for example, like, if we're doing, building a feature, everyone's working on that, but suddenly, like, another team comes and says, hey, like, you have this bug or whatever, it's blocking us. Can you fix it? It will take you a day. I can tell them, sprint number 12 in 2 months, come and let's talk. Or I can just, put someone and do it. So if we are very strict with our, like, plans and scopes and everything, you will end up with this, file your ticket, it will be done then, I will tell you when and by, or we can be, understanding and adjust our maybe expectations, our also delivery to be, reasonable. So we're all working in the same company. If they are facing an issue that we are causing, it makes sense for, for us to fix it before we release this new feature that no one is yet using, like there is no impact yet on the outside world.
Yeah, so we say processes are kind of not good, but you have, as a developer, a lot of processes, right? You have PR reviews. You have a process how you will GA. Why those processes are good and the ones that the PM brings into are not so good? Why do you think so?
Actually, interesting about what you said. I think some of the processes developers used to hate as well, like development process, but they're improving over time. Just like to give you an example, when the, let's say, boom of having code clean or unified all across, to have the same styling was like a must-have. And I will never forget, like in my early years of software engineering, that was like one of the main things we were discussing in the reviews. And it like didn't make sense. Okay, you left a space here, you left a space here. And I understand, like you want a clean code. I love clean code myself, but it's when, it also creates those discussions where basically you spend a lot of hours discussing, I know.
Where do you put the line? Because if you don't do it, you can get, and it's the same with the process of the PM, like, if I don't have certain control of what's happening, like something that I feel comfortable with, I might come the last day of the release. The release is not there, and I will need to explain it, and I have no way to explain why it didn't go. I didn't have any power of to maybe readjust, maybe cut the scope if I would have known, right? So at the end of the day, it comes down to also the communication, what we said, that we need to build this bridge in between PMs and dev. Processes are, in my opinion, not useful, but only if there is a great communication within the team and collaboration. If there is no collaboration, then process is the only way that can make you succeed. And
in a way, it's the same. If you have construction people building a house, it's not that each of them is working on this specific end. No one is watching, and they're all trying to build in their own way. And then you expect the house will stand. You probably do some cross-examination, you check, you put two people for one wall
it's
and so on.
not the same construction than
very
building
similar.
software.
Why?
I had to go every single day to my house to make sure everything was going. My wife was saying, you're being a PM on
so
this.
So you still need, some kind of observation. So the same goes for developers, because they might think that they did already good enough, or, works for me and it will be shipped. After maybe a month, you would come with another feature, and it's not possible to build on top.
But
or
how do you
maybe
keep
there
it?
is
Because
already a mistake, just a human mistake that is sitting there, very obvious to maybe senior people and not so obvious for junior people.
But how do you fix this? Because we say, okay, no processes, let's
No, so here we go. PR, code review. But code review is for
developers.
It's a process. Yes, it's for developers to get to know the stuff that is happening.
And
Imagine you have
PMs here?
6 or 7 people in a team, and you have a few features in development. So and more maybe with time, because it's a big team. So one person cannot know everything that's going on. It's the only way to share what you're doing, how you're doing it. So if time comes when you will need, wake up at night, and they will say there is a bug, form button doesn't work, you will know, okay, someone touched it last week. Might be the problem is
but
in this area.
How do you keep the developers connected that good with the PRs? How do you keep now the PM connected in the same level? Because this is the problem, that why we create this distance in between PM and dev. There is no a common space for them to share knowledge, to keep each other connected. How do you do it?
Because you talk about the stuff that you're doing. Let's say you invent a process and you call it daily meeting.
Daily meeting.
Yes,
Daily
15 minutes, of stand-up and whatever. So if the PM also comes, and it's very likely they will not understand half of what devs are talking about. Yeah, this something library, UI, and so on and so on. With time, they will get at least understanding with, the area of who's been doing what. Maybe there is a blocker. Maybe they will sense there is an issue. You're hearing the same person talk about the same stuff for 3 days already, and it's not moving. Might be there is something, and you can talk hey, do you need...
But you said this is exactly what you said at the beginning.
What?
They're knocking. Hey, how is it going?
No,
but
you're not knocking every day. You're sitting there. You're not asking a question.
Yeah.
They're talking about their updates, right? So if I hear that Mario is talking 3 days in a row that I'm doing a button from blue to orange and it's still not done for some reason, maybe there is an issue, right? Maybe it's time to raise a flag and ask if there is one, and if not, okay,
Just one little caveat: when everyone needs to be in the office.
Yes.
Why the standards offline doesn't work?
No, we don't do offline. We don't do also the weekly meetings offline. It's only in office.
Person,
there is no streaming. It's very annoying.
Not just that, but a lot of information you can hear as a manager, as a product person. When you sit in the room, you hear your engineers argue about something, or even swear about something. You know what's happening. You learn. That's information. You learn about the product, its internals, what are the difficulties.
I will never admit it, but I understand more Lithuanian than people think. When they're in the daily, they feel very calm. They talk in Lithuanian, and I'm always putting my ear. I understand most of what they are saying, and later I can relate to it. But it's also give them some space for them to chat.
If they listen to this, Mario, they will switch.
I said I would not admit it, so it's a joke. Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah, there is some truth in every joke.
Yeah.
But do you also if we put it, from the outside? So now you're saying that why PM should not know in the PR stuff what's happening. Well, do you invite the devs to the research you're doing, to competitor research? Do you invite them to the user calls?
The user calls, yes, you're right.
Okay.
The user calls are always invited.
Invited, but do they come?
Never come. And you asked me today about one feature we're going to release. I cannot say which feature it is because it's going to be released hopefully soon. And you asked me, how is it going? Are you going to release when? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember last week we were doing usabilities, and there was one main developer, and there is an issue with it, and I don't know how to explain it. You need to see it, And we are going to do usabilities in the office, so it's happening. And I told him, look, dude, come, please come to the usability. You have to see this. It's happening this time. Didn't show up to it because it was too busy doing something else. Then I end up recording it and sending it. And then you see the value, like on them coming and seeing for first time the frustration of what's happening. So I wish the developers would come more to the usabilities. I wish they would read the research we do more, even though like some of them, they actually do it quite a lot. And we try to share in the weekly meetings the demos from product. They do demo of what they are doing and trying to keep everyone aligned. And sometimes we call it the moment of getting crazy, because the ideas that product comes on that stage are very raw, are very not cooked, and sometimes are very crazy. But along this crazy line sometimes gets great or comes great product. Some UXer that joined us recently said, I don't know if you are being serious or not about what you are showing. And this is sometimes creates also this problem with developers, that they don't know if we are being serious about what we want to do, or we are just exploring and trying to see. And we don't want also to get them very scared about what's coming in the future.
Right. But this like bridging the gap, like trying to share maybe the user pains and so on. It's also what we're doing from time to time, just collecting the user voice, let's say about the feature or how it's used or how people react to it, what they complain about. It's really, really nice, because then you kind of get people in front of, this is the thing that we're doing, we're building, and we have people who are actually suffering. They're telling how much time it takes for them to do something because we don't provide them the alternatively better solution. Better meaning less time, maybe more, convenient in terms of UI or stuff like that. And it's really helping, I would say, to understand what the product is doing and also why we should now improve this over that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, we are almost 40 minutes in. I think we should start wrapping it up. What do you say?
Yeah. Like, what are the lessons learned?
I don't think we hate each other. I think we need more understanding. I think that's the key point. I'm very happy that at Wix we have a lot of developers that has transitioned in a sense to be more product, and I see it more and more often. In more developers taking care of the product. Less on the other way. I think it's harder also to make the move from PM to developer, even though we have some examples here and there, but it also helps us to understand each other better. And it's also easier when you have someone doing product or making the calls that has been a developer before. It kind of, you feel that they will understand what you're doing. So at the end of the day, communication, no processes that doesn't help, and try to build a bridge and talk to each other more.
Yeah, maybe try to find the solution together. Like it's maybe, sounds very vague, but it's actually true. Like you have an issue, you go and talk and you find those alternatives maybe, or which could work. If like, what is the preferred way to go forward? We have this leakage now. So how do you proceed? Do you suggest we keep it? We fix it now, later, in 3 months, in 6 months, but just, try to bridge this gap. Yeah, like don't maybe do a decision when you don't know what is, lying underneath.
Yeah, like you need to understand that everyone has good intentions, and just like in negotiations, if you sit near the table, and being open about coming up with a best mutual, agreement, and if you discuss
but don't compromise too much. Don't get into the point that you compromise just to make the other part happy, and you are going to still be unhappy.
And to do that, it helps to actually understand what is the main goal here, or to have a single decision maker in the team.
It's also maybe sometimes PMs need to accept the hard truth that it will take a long time to fix, and we still need to do it, right?
Yes.
Like you cannot run away from it. It's a hard problem, yes, but eventually you cannot only fix the small problems and move with the features.
But you know why they're scared about it? Because what I'm going to do while they are doing this.
you ask them every day how's it going.
And this is what happens at the end. Why they're asking so often? Because they have nothing what to do, because you're working on 3 months, and this is the sign that you have a product manager that is not so strong. Because if the product manager is strong, they will find what to do, and they will find something around. They will think about the future. Maybe they will just start getting a bit crazy and do research about, in 3 years where I want to be working more on the long-term strategy or whatever. But there is the moments where you see who is strong and who is like more juniorish in a sense. So if a PM tells you yes and then they never come to us, how is it going? You have a great PM with you.
So I hope you enjoyed listening to us. I promise we will come back with more episodes. Thank you very much, Donatai, for coming in.
Did you like it?
Yes, enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
Very good. Very good.
Good. Thank you, Mario.
Okay, thank you.
And see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.